The time has come for people to demand truth, to look into the eyes of fear and say, no, I don't believe this.
What is happening? Something is going on. Can you feel the way?
Hi, welcome to Spiral Into It. I'm Fisk Smith. In this episode, we are going to show interviews with speakers who presented at the 9/11 inquiry in San Francisco at the Herbst Theater on March 26th through March 28th, 2004. September 11th, 2001 is the most important date in our country's history, because it is becoming increasingly clear that the official story of what happened on that date is far from the truth. In this series of shows, we intend to demonstrate through the voices of the 9/11 presenters how so many unrelated events are related, and the bigger picture is something much more sinister than most Americans will be able to handle. The first World Trade Center bombing, the bombings in Oklahoma City, and the events of 9/11 are all related. These events have effectively conditioned Americans to believe that government and more of its oppressive legislation is the only way to protect them from more terrorism. In the coming years, our oil industry policies will begin to reveal widespread destruction. These short-range, greedy, irresponsible policies will begin to unfold generations of famine, refugee migration, weather irregularities, economic disruptions, resource and gene wars on an unsuspecting public confused by the real issues. The powers that be know it is imperative to have broad-ranging legislative mechanisms in place to deal with these catastrophic events and to control its citizens and the anarchy that will follow. 9/11 was the linchpin of this public conditioning. So many questions about that day have not been addressed. The 9/11 Commission, the media, and all the branches of government are complicit in keeping this out of the public debate. Fighting terrorism has nothing to do with sustaining freedom. It has everything to do with creating more wealth for military corporations and Wall Street. It has everything to do with curtailing your freedom and conditioning the truth out of everybody on this planet. The time has come for people to demand truth, to look into the eyes of fear and say, no, I don't believe this. Take back common sense instead of fostering a world of us against them. We are them, and they are us. What is happening? Something is going on. Can you feel the way?
I'm the director of the Institute for Policy Research and Development, which is in Brighton. It's an interdisciplinary think tank. We're a small organisation. We publish a wide variety of reports on human rights and different issues criticising the state of the world today. I used to be with the Islamic Human Rights Commission in London, and I have written quite a few human rights reports for them. I'm the author of The War on Freedom, How and Why America Was Attacked, September 11, 2001, and my second book is been out for a few months now. It's about the Iraq crisis. It's called Behind the War on Terror, Western Secret Strategy in the Struggle for Iraq. And my interest in 9/11 was really, I actually never used to believe the idea that there could have been any role on the part of the US government in facilitating the attacks of 9/11. I thought that the idea was completely absurd. But it was only after actually coming across Ruppert's work.
Documented warnings were given to the United States government that we know of, that we can establish, from as many as 18 foreign governments, but these would include specifically and most importantly perhaps the Germans, the French, the Russians, the Israelis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, any number of governments, and taken together these warnings, from my reading, never have been denied. In fact, they've been classified in the joint U.S. House-Senate intelligence report. That's part of the 28 pages they won't show. But we know certainly that they said that the Bush administration had complete knowledge that hijacked commercial airliners would be crashed into the World Trade Center on the week of September the 9th. Massive insider trading on the world's financial markets, from Hong Kong to Tokyo to Chicago, New York to London to Berlin, maybe to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. We don't know exactly how much, but it was massive. In United Airlines, American Airlines put options, Swiss reinsurance, AXA reinsurance, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, all of which were devastated by the attacks, indicates that the knowledge that the attacks were coming was extremely widespread. And that's what prompted many of these financial trades. But the fact that the trades were made on United and American Airlines is very significant. That all intelligence agencies track stock trades in real time. So if you take this together with the advance warnings that we know were received, we know that the names of the hijackers were known, we know that there was a Project Bojinka, we know that this was very specific. We know who the players were. We had a statement from Vladimir Putin on MSNBC just days after the attacks. He appeared in New York and said, "I ordered a direct warning to President Bush in the strongest possible terms." This is a head of state to head of state warning. And that he gave the names of the hijackers. That, you know, that's how specific it was. So now we know United and American Airlines, and yet nothing was done to prepare for the attacks. And yet apparently something was, because John Ashcroft stopped flying commercial flights about 6 weeks before the attacks. And there's the Pentagon canceled the trip. Members of the Joint Chiefs canceled commercial air trips just before the attacks. On the day of 9/11 itself, and this all fits nicely into the context of Zbigniew Brzezinski's 1997 book, The Grand Chessboard, which I brought to world attention right after the attacks. Utterly devastating quotes in this book, including a map of where the next world conflict was going to occur. And it is a map that encircles Southwest Asia and the Middle East, and statements by Brzezinski in 3 separate places in the book, drawing attention to the fact that Pearl Harbor mobilized American support, that without a direct external threat, and this is a quote, the American people would never support the imperial mobilization necessary to control this critical region of the world.